Okay, students, sorry about the delay in getting started here. We were once again having a few little technical difficulties. So as you guys get into live stream day, can you guys just give me a thumbs up and just let me know that you guys are here, ready to go, and then we'll get started. If you haven't commented before, if you haven't been with us on one of these chats before, please just introduce yourself. If you only if you want to ask questions. If you don't, if you want to stay anonymous but you know you're participating, just give us a thumbs up below the video so we know everybody's ready to go. And then we'll get started. Today, guys, we're going to be going over a very important math lesson. We made it a point as we laid out with our team kind of what we wanted these videos to be, beyond just the real-time videos that we've been doing that have become very popular on our channel. We also wanted to give you guys an opportunity to see, like we did on Monday with the writing and language section, the most important question types on the SAT section. So for writing and language, as we talked about on Monday, it was punctuation and pronouns and apostrophes. Hopefully you guys were able to use Star U to correspond with that. Yep, guys, and everything on all of our live streams will always be recorded, and they'll always be in a playlist titled SAT Reviews, SAT and ACT Reviews. So let me get you guys that real quick. If you guys just want to hang on to this playlist, I think that's a great idea, and you can just make a copy of the link. And then we'll get and then you guys can always can just go back to the same link, and we'll put all of our reviews in that link. Give me 1 sec here. There we go. Okay, guys. So if you guys are interested in this playlist, I would encourage you to check this out, and again, just copy the link down, I think, and all of these reviews will continue to go back into this playlist. So playlist for all SAT. Yeah, welcome from Kazakhstan. It's pretty cool, guys, on our end to see all of you. All of the participants, and from where you guys all over the world, especially the ones that all of you guys that are staying up late to watch these. We've actually made it a point for the students in actually Kazakhstan, Zenerki, I think it is. I hope that I pronounced that right. Kazakhstan, we have a lot of Indian students that are participating, so anybody from India joining us, welcome. You guys have been awesome in terms of your participation. We actually have made some of these videos earlier to film these earlier because of you. So your influence is noted and appreciated, and yeah, welcome back, guys. In terms of the writing section, for international students, I think that they are going to keep the requirement to write. I think you do have to do the writing section at the end of the test. Having said that, it's largely to just show that you're going to be okay in American schools. For international students, they really just want to make sure that you can handle the language. Because even if you go to like MIT or some super technical college, Caltech, if you go to Harvard to study computer engineering, you're still going to have a few classes where you probably have to do some general writing. And so that's why they just want to show they just want international students to show that in a timed environment like you'd experience in college, that you're still able to write an essay, even if you're going to a super technical college. Having said that, if you want to go to MIT or Harvard or any of these incredible technical colleges, engineering schools, I wouldn't worry too much about the writing section, but it is something to, don't just fall asleep at the end of the test. Guys, absolutely. I know, again, Zenerki, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Apologies if I'm not, but you've been a participant for a long time. We get a lot of students that come back who have already gone to college. We have a lot of students at MIT right now, as a matter of fact, because of some of these videos, and a lot of them join these live streams and come back and tell us about it, which is awesome for me. It makes it really worthwhile, so welcome back. If you guys haven't checked out the videos, I promise you that hard work will continue to pay off, so just keep at it, guys, okay? Okay, so for today, and to somebody asked about in-depth math topics, absolutely. If you guys have any requests in terms of like what topics you want to see, just recommend them, comment below these videos. I know I'm asking you guys to do that, but sometimes it's hard for us because there is so much content that we could cover. So that's why we're doing these like the most prominent questions on both the writing and language and math section. If you guys ever have any questions or you want us to cover a topic in depth on one of these videos, we can absolutely do that. But we need the recommendations as well. So if you guys are ever interested in a certain topic or you want us to cover something, we've done this numerous times where like students wanted to see the differences between taking the SAT and the ACT, and then we just filmed a video last week about that. So we're completely open to your suggestions, but again, we're only going to know what you guys want to see if you comment below the videos and let us know. So just keep that in mind as we keep moving forward. Geometry, we can absolutely cover geometry. I think that's an important topic. And in some ways, guys, linear equations, they deal. We're going to talk a little bit about how it applies geometrically and how important that is, okay? So yeah, if you guys are interested in geometry, linear equations in some ways are, right, the geometric part of this because you get the coordinate plane, and we'll go through that. Okay, yeah, we can do hard math from every previous test. Having said that, what you're going to see today, guys, is there are 10 questions. Let me pull this up real quick. Between the two math sections, I want to reiterate this because it is just so critical that we all understand this. I have we have our smart bubble sheet. If you have used Star U before, we have our smart bubble sheet. If you guys want to pay $5 a month, you can use that smart bubble sheet, and it will actually suggest practice problems for you for real SAT tests. So you plug in your answers from a real SAT test, and then the app will suggest practice problems for you. If you guys want to pay $5 a month, you can do that, and that's all automated. But if you don't want to pay $5 a month or you don't have the means right now, we've also given you guys the opportunity with our advanced score reports, our SAT advanced score reports. I posted it at the top of this chat, and I also posted it. It's always posted in all of our videos below these videos. If you guys plug in your answers to our advanced score reports, you can see the exact question types on SAT writing and language and SAT math that you're missing. And the thing that I always say, this is something that I say to all students, no matter how strong of a math student you are, this is the key. For anybody that's looking to get an 800 on the math section, okay, and because my mom was a math teacher when I was a kid, this was always, I was in some ways expecting to get an 800 or a 36 on the ACT math section because I knew a lot of the concepts, and once it started to get hard, I stopped paying attention, and my mom stopped trying to argue with me about it. But up to Algebra 2, it became a sense that my mom helped me so much to that point. And that was a tremendous opportunity on the SAT and the ACT. But the thing that helped me the most was not making simple mistakes. We get this thing all the time, and I say this in our live streams, that the thing that made me a great test taker as a kid was not the ability to do the hardest problem. It was the ability to understand what I knew and what I didn't know, and to not worry about the 1 out of 20 questions that I didn't know how to do. We get a lot of students that are always worried about the hardest question, but the thing I always ask is, if I got a 750 on the math section, would be in the top, if you get 750 plus on the math section, you're in the top 0.5% of all students that take the SAT math test. If you do that, nobody ever asks you, like, oh, I got a 750. Nobody follows that question up with, or that statement up with, oh, well, did you get all the hard questions right? No. Everybody's like, oh, that's unbelievable. 750, that's incredible. If you get a 790, which means you miss one question on the math section, nobody's ever like, well, you missed the hardest question, so you're not very smart. No, everybody's like, 790, that's unbelievable. And the point I'm making in all that is that your ability to recognize the easy questions and recognize that every single question is worth the same value, right? You get about 10 points per question. If you recognize that, then linear equations, if you plug in your answers to recent practice tests and you recognize that you're missing these linear equation problems, and you also recognize that you're not taking the steps that we're going to talk about today in terms of writing things out, you are sacrificing, right? Every time you sit down, you should understand that you're going in with 10 out of 58 questions answered correctly every time if you memorize linear equations. Can everybody give me a thumbs up or 2 thumbs up in the chat if that makes sense? We get that question all the time of like, well, I want to get the hardest questions right. If you're not already scoring a 750 on the math section, and if you are, that's awesome. And obviously then it is about learning more difficult concepts. If you're not already scoring 750, limit your simple mistakes before worrying about the hardest question types. That was the ability that I had above everybody else when I took these tests as a kid. I wasn't the smartest student that took it. I never thought that I was that smart when it came to this test because I knew that the concepts weren't nearly as hard as an AP calculus test. And that was huge for me. That was so beneficial because when I got to Algebra 2, my mom was still a math teacher drilling me on all this stuff. And after that, we kind of fell off, right? I wasn't nearly as good of a math student in the last couple of years of high school as I was as a kid and then going into high school. But this only goes up, for a lot of you, this only goes up to Algebra 2, right? And some of you have already seen that. So focus on the things you know how to do. And as ridiculous as it is, You know that Bill Gates, he got a 1600 to get into Harvard. He got a perfect score on his SAT when he was a kid, and he got a perfect SAT math score. And I always think how funny it is that the prominent concept that he worked through to get that 800, the most prominent one on the test, was just simply y equals mx plus b. Okay, so that's what I'm striving for you guys to all recognize today, and to recognize that anytime you see one of these things, I would highly recommend writing this down. Within the question, if you see the words lines, right? If you see lines, linear equations, right? Okay, these are both within the questions, right? These are both within the questions. Okay, or if you see a graph of a line, right? So that would be a figure, graph of line. If you see any of those three things, and some of you are going to take this to heart, and some of you are going to do it, and you'll go into every math test knowing you're going to go 10 for 10 at least on the linear equation section, right? This will be given in a figure. You're given a coordinate plane, and then the line is drawn for you. You know that's a linear equation problem. If you see any one of these three things, the first thing that you should do, the very, very first thing, is to immediately write out y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b is a rule. That is the equation of a line. There's other ways to write the equation of a line, but that is a rules-defined way to write the line, and it's the easiest one as it applies to the SAT. So the first thing you want to be doing is to think about y equals mx plus b, because what it does is it allows you to recognize that there are three components of this equation, and they every single one of them applies to a line. Okay, the first one is the m, right, which is obviously the slope. Everyone's familiar with that. The next one is the b, which is the y-intercept, and I highly encourage you guys to not think of the y-intercept as just the b value, but rather when x is equal to 0, what is the b value for y, right? Because everybody forgets that this is just a coordinate point on the line as well. So think about it as 0 comma b. That's really what the y-intercept is, not just a single number b. Okay, and then finally, the one that everybody forgets about is xy, right? These are coordinate points on the line. The equation is not defined. The equation does not define the line defines the equation. Isaac Newton in the 1600s, for those who are familiar with physics and Isaac Newton, right? Didn't have a ton of friends, didn't do much besides math. And when he was discovering, the fundamental theorems of calculus, he was literally just plotting points. He was looking up at the stars, right, and the orbits of the planets, and he's just plotting points on a coordinate plane. And as he started to recognize patterns, he started to put this idea together. Him and, I think it's Leibovitz, right? Leibovitz was the one that actually came up with all the notation for it. But the point I'm making in this is that this all started with the idea of a coordinate plane. Okay, this all started with a coordinate plane. So if you see a line, that has a y equals mx plus b equation associated with it. And every single point on that line is an xy value that can be plugged in to satisfy the equation. Can everybody give me a thumbs up? That seems like such a ridiculous thing to be covering. And it seems so ridiculous that that's the most prominent question asked on the SAT, but it is. It goes back to what we talked about on Monday with SAT writing language and the periods, right? Like you never think about what a period does. Okay, but you never think about that because you learned it in the 3rd grade. But if you really think about what a period does, all of a sudden those question types with periods and semicolons become significantly easier going forward if you just know the rule in your mind and you're committed to it. Okay, we got to get to that point though. So let's go through a few of these problems and let me show you how many of these questions deal with y equals mx plus b. Okay, right off the bat, on the very first page, by the way, guys, this is SAT test number 9. SAT test 9. Test 9. And this is section 3 right now, is the no calc section. So as you get better, okay, yeah, and we're going to continue to do these throughout the rest of August. So if you guys are interested in watching more of these, we're going to be doing reading videos, probably reading video this Friday. Okay, right away though, we can recognize that this is a little bit harder to recognize because we're not given the line, right? But right away, we can say this is y equals mx plus b. And if we want to do the quick math here, right, whenever we have one y value with no exponents and one x value, then it's going to change into y equals mx plus b. So on the first page, number 3 and number 4 are going to be both y equals mx plus b questions. 2 out of the first 4 questions. We cannot afford to miss these, right? So do all your math out. This is what my mom used to do as a math teacher, and as annoying as it was for every other aspect of my life, it is tremendously helpful because if I rewrite this equation, right, make no simple mistakes, the student that's the smartest math student in the world is more likely to make a simple mistake here than I am because everybody thinks they can do it in their head, right? They're going to add the 3 over and divide, and it's so easy to do that. So just add it over. It doesn't take that long. 3x, right, minus 4, 2y is equal to this, right? So these go away. Okay, now we have our equation. So it has a negative y-intercept, right, negative 4. We can divide by 2, and it's a 3/2 positive slope. So it has a positive slope and a positive y-intercept. They are fairly easy, guys, but I'm telling you, you can't worry about the easiness of the problem. All I'm trying to show you is how often linear equations come up and how you should approach every one of them not to make any simple mistakes. The hardest question on this test is the same value, point value, as number 3 there. If you go back and you plug in your answers and you recognize that you're missing questions in the first 5, even if you're getting a 750, okay, on a math test, that means that you are not maximizing your potential as a test taker. If you are missing questions that you know how to do in the first 5 questions on the math test or the early free response questions, you are not maximizing your potential as a test taker. The thing that I did better than everybody is not do the hard work, which I wish I would have done now in hindsight. It was that I always maximized my score because my mom was just drilling this, that you don't make simple mistakes. You see the question all the way through until you have the answer, and then you move on. Right? Okay, so let's see. Right, the front of a roller coaster car is at the bottom of the hill. Right here, even though this is the classic SAT, they just love to throw in, right, different forms of y equals mx plus b with just different variables. But in this case, the s and the h are just the right, the y. It's pretty straightforward from there. Anything that increases or decreases is the slope. So m is always increasing or decreasing, and b is always a constant, increase/decrease, right? So we know right away that it says it rises at a constant rate of 8 feet. So we should be eliminating answer choices B and D immediately. Okay, which is the following because of the height in feet, and it starts 15 feet above the ground. So it should be just A, right? But B and D on everybody's test, on B and D should be immediately crossed out. Does that make sense? Because 15, right, is above the ground. That's where it starts, and then it goes down. Oh, sorry, guys. Somebody said D. Yeah, I'm an idiot. You guys can see simple mistakes, right? I'm talking about all this simple mistake. I was wondering what that was. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, D. You guys can see, right? I'm saying all these things, and I literally have. This is the whole point of this. In some ways, I'm glad you guys pointed that out. Okay? Yeah, because you saw the simple mistake. That's the exact point I'm making all this. That if you get distracted, if you're worried about the next question or answering something else, you see how easy it is to make a simple mistake on number 3? We literally have the whole thing written out. It's a positive slope and a negative y-intercept. And for some reason, I put it in my mind that there was a positive y-intercept at that moment, and I would have missed that question. Okay, does that make sense? Does that make sense, guys? Because I'm going to divide, right? I'm going to have negative 4 there. So guys, that's a very important lesson. I wish I wouldn't have made that simple mistake, but in some ways it's good. And lo and behold, number 5. So 3 of the first 5 questions deal with linear equations. Does everybody see on number 5? Can you give me a thumbs up? And guys, thanks. Whoever pointed that out for answer choice D on number 3, thank you. Because, yeah, it's good for any future students that watch the recorded video that they know we didn't, that they didn't get confused by that. So thanks for pointing that out, guys. Okay. Okay, so does everybody see on number 5? Thumbs up if you guys see that this, once again, C is equal to 75H plus 125. Another common thing that the SAT, yeah, when you wrote, I love that. I hope everybody sees that in the chat when you wrote simple mistakes and it immediately bites you back. That's pretty funny, actually. When you wrote simple mistakes and it hits back. I love that. Yeah, right? You can never, this happens to everybody. I'm just yapping up here talking about don't make simple mistakes, right? How good I was at not making simple mistakes as a kid. That's like that's just the SAT being a perfect SAT and just absolutely crushing any arrogance, right? Any cockiness, any arrogance, the SAT's like, nope. It's very funny. Okay, so guys, another thing the SAT loves to do on linear equation problems. This is now number 5, where 3 out of 5 are linear equation problems on no calc. They love to go like this. C is equal to 125 plus 75H. And all students are always like, well, that's not y equals mx plus b. That's just an addition sign, right? You can always just rewrite that. In this case, they do give it to us as 75h, right? So it's just exactly in line with y equals mx plus b. Okay, y is equal to mx plus b. And write this out. As soon as you recognize that this is a linear equation, write out y equals mx plus b so there's no confusion. Now, right away, we know that 75 is the slope. We know that 125 is the starting value, right? The starting point, the y-intercept. And now, hopefully, we can make sense of what the question is asking us. The electrician worked 2 hours longer. The equation gives us the amount of $C charged for a job that takes H hours. Each hired an electrician. The electrician worked 2 hours longer on Mr. Sanchez's job. How much more did the electrician charge Mr. Sanchez than Mr. Roland? Okay, so 2 more hours, right, which would be the x value. Okay, and we're just asking if they work 2 more hours, 75 times 2, right, is just equal to 150. So the answer, I think, should just be 150. Does that make sense, guys? How we do that one? Any questions there? But does everybody see 3 out of the first 5 problems, and it's only going to get, there's only going to be more prominent. So I said 10 out of 58. I mean, there's a significant chance that it's actually more than 10 out of 58 questions deal with these concepts. But is everybody seeing this as we continue to move through? You guys can see that this isn't even a linear equation problem. These are really important questions, though, too. If you guys haven't looked at these questions before, 8 and 10 can be significant questions, significantly easy questions. No. Actually, 8 is a linear equations problem. Yeah, this is a linear equations problem, right, guys? Okay, 10 is not because we have squared, but this is a linear equations problem. If I line this up, right, y is equal to 2ax minus 15. 2ax minus 15. Does everybody see that that's y equals mx plus b on this side of the equation? And this actually deals with 2 really important concepts, so I'm actually glad that this is linear equations. Whenever you have a constant and there's an equal sign in between, this part is not about linear equations because what I'm saying can also apply to number 10 here. But whenever you have a constant, the first thing that you want to do is distribute because all they're asking you to do is line up on the left what's on the right. Okay, so here we have 2ax, right? 2ax minus 15 is equal to, now we're going to distribute 3x plus 15, right? 5x, let me try to not, right? Plus 5x minus 5. Okay, and then we're going to combine like terms. So we get 2ax minus 15 is equal to 8x, plus 10. When we get to this point, a lot of students don't understand, well, why is the negative 15 and the 10 not lining up? But these are both linear equations, right? And the fact that they give us this value, right, this is number 8, this no value means that they are parallel lines. If you guys see the words no value, right, no value of x, no solutions, okay? Or if you get parallel lines, right, these all mean the same thing. Okay? This is all the same stuff as it relates to linear equations. We can see that we line this up, y equals 2ax, right, minus 15, and y equals 8x plus 10. Okay? And right now, the no value, right, the parallel lines mean that they have the same slope but different y-intercepts. Shashank, watch this. Be careful, right? Because it's actually 2ax is equal to 8x. If we divide by 2x on both sides, the answer actually is 4 here. Right? Because the a value is 4. Yes, the slope is 8, but they're looking for the value of a. But number 8 covers a lot of different topics, guys. So on test number 9, section 3, if you guys are interested in that, I highly encourage looking at number 8. That's a great question that not only comes up because it gives you practice with linear equations, it also gives you practice because number 8 is the same question as number 10, but number 10 is an exponential, is a parabola equation. Is that cool? So right now, guys, 4 of the first 8 questions deal with linear equations. Y equals mx plus b, no value, right? Parallel lines, that's parallel lines. Line, right? Linear equation. That's what we have to be thinking about. Okay, so right now we're at a pretty high clip. 50% of the problems so far, those are not linear equations. These are technically. You guys can see that I've already been doing work with other students on this. Okay, so these are linear equations as well. So 14. So 5 of the first 14 questions. 5 out of the first 14 questions on the no calc section are linear equations. So it's probably even higher than 10. It's probably more like 20% of the entire SAT math section deals with just linear equations. And guess what? We have given you the entire linear equation section for free on Star U. So if you guys have not downloaded and created a Star U student account yet, I highly encourage you to do so. Okay, because watch what happens. All of these lesson plans are available for free. So you click, right, you log in your Star U student account, you click lessons and practice problems, you click SAT, right, slide over, then SAT math, and all of a sudden here we have applications of linear equations down here, right? And there you go. It's all free. Like, this is the thing, that if we're going to continue to work and try to provide all this stuff for you guys for free, and you get what? How many lesson problems? You get 9 questions, right, that deal directly with the same types of questions, and we've listed it out. Is it a hard question? Is it an easy question? You get a sense of it. But the point I'm trying to make in this is that if you're not doing these questions on the app in correspondence with questions on the test to see everything you could possibly know about linear equations, then you are not maximizing your test score. Can everybody give me a thumbs up if that makes sense? This is free. This is all available for free. You go in the bottom, right, it's the very last tab, Applications of Linear Equations, and the bottom of the SAT Math tab on Star U, and it's available there. And if you memorize every single one of these pages, okay, there's only about 9 of them, and then you click the button that says, right, to do more practice problems, and you get all 9 of those questions right, and you know exactly why you're getting those right. Okay, then you're gonna know 10 out of 58 questions minimum before you even start the SAT math test. If you guys are interested in creating a Star U student account, download Star U in the App Store. We have had a little bit of trouble with the app in certain countries. So if you're in a certain country and the app doesn't seem to be loading, you can also access Star U the web at. So again, either using the smart bubble sheet, okay, either using the smart bubble sheet if you want it all to be automated, okay, or who asked that question? Syed, if you want to look at that link I just posted, if it's not working, but you can download it in the App Store, okay, or on Google Play for Android and iOS devices, or you can click that link on the web version and create a student account, and then it's all available there for all of you to answer questions for free. It's all free. Everything I just showed you is free. And so I go back to this all the time with students, is that's why students come back to these chats with us and say, like, you helped my score improve so much. Well, it wasn't me. It was the hard work that you guys are, that the certain students are willing to put in order to memorize it, because it is all there. And if you watch our videos, I mention Star U in every single one of the videos. And it's free. So again, the most prominent questions on this test are all free on the app. If you guys want to pay the $5, you can get some advanced content, which does cover kind of the final questions. And you also get access to that smart bubble sheet. So, yeah, I mean, again, I'm not trying to promote this too hard, but if it comes down to getting a book, right, for $40 versus buying, doing this for $5 a month, I just think that you have a lot more benefit. That's just my personal opinion. So anyway, so this is another question, right? This is another linear equations. When you have actually, this doesn't help us too much because, right, all of these are the same line, so it's not like we can get much out of that. But this is actually linear inequalities, which is also covered on the app, okay? Graphs of linear inequalities. That's also covered in that applications of linear equations section on SAT Math in Star U. So inequalities, the way that you want to approach these questions is whatever is shaded makes both equations correct. So all you have to do, let's start with 0, 0. If I plug in 0, 0, does that work to the question? 0 is greater than x plus 2. 0 is greater than 0 plus 2. Does everybody see how if I plug in 0, 0 to this point, it does not work? 0, 0 does not work. 0 is not greater than 2. So anything that includes 0 can be eliminated. Okay, now let's say I pick a point that's over here and I say that this is going to be 3, 2, right? I pick this point down from D and I say 3, 2. If I plug in 3 and 2, I get, 2 is greater than 3 plus 2? No, that's not true, so D's off. Okay, does everybody see how I'm doing that by just plugging in those answers, plugging in those equations? Thumbs up if you guys see what I'm doing there, right? I'm just plugging in shaded parts of this graph. Okay, let's say I pick B, right? So I pick -2, -3, +3. Is 3 greater than, B, right? Well, let's make sure, right? I think it's B. Let's just make sure here. -2 is -4 plus 9. Oh, no, I think it is C, right? negative 2, plus 2. Negative 2 plus 2, 4 plus 6. No, negative 4, so that's not right. B doesn't work because B works for the first one, but it doesn't work for the second one. Let's just confirm that. Here we have 0, 4. If I plug it into the first one, I get 4 is greater than 2. That's right. I get, so it's got to be C for number 14. Right? Am I crazy? Did I do the math right there? Maybe not. No, wait, no, it is B. Is it B? Why am I thinking it was B? Negative 2 is negative 4. Plus. No, it's less than 6. Sorry, guys, it's B. Sorry. So, guys, I was in my mind there, just for the record, going back, C doesn't work, because I misread that this is not greater than, right? It's less than. It is B. But right there, so the what I didn't do on question number 3, which is ironic because that was supposed to be the easier question, I did do it on number 4. In my mind, I quickly tried to plug those numbers back in for C because I had it down to B and C, and I wasn't as focused as I was when I was eliminating A and D. And I recognized that this was it. So always ask yourself that question. That goes back to the simple mistakes thing, is when you go back and you look at that for the last time, even if it only takes you 5 or 10 extra seconds, right, go back and plug those numbers in and see if you catch yourself on simple mistakes. Don't for 1 second think that simple mistakes aren't going to happen to you. Okay, because we get a lot of times, and there's a lot of YouTube channels, and it drove me crazy when I was a teacher for different companies, which is why we ended up starting Star Tutors in the first place, that somebody would tell you that a teacher would act like they're superior to you, or that they aren't capable of making simple mistakes. It's just not true. I know objectively that if you don't make simple mistakes, your score is going to go up. That's the biggest killer of high scores in the world. It is not the inability to answer hard questions. It's making simple mistakes, trying to rush through the easy ones. Yeah, so for number 14, guys, all I did was I picked a point. Does that make sense, by the way, on that idea of simple mistakes? That everybody is capable of making a simple mistake, and it's our ability to eliminate those by going back and saying, wait, does that actually make sense? Right before you move on from the problem for the last 10 seconds, you're not wasting that much time. So here we go, right? So if I just plug in a point, the points that are in the shaded region of any inequality graph, right, are assumed to be correct for both equations. So what we're saying here is that this point, negative 2, 2, right, negative 2, 2 is going to satisfy both equations if I plug in that point. So first I did 2 is less than or equal to negative 2 plus 2, or is greater than or equal to, sorry, I'm confusing myself, right? So 2 is greater than 0. So that does work. So for the first equation on answer choice B, that works. Now I'm going to go down and I'm going to try with the second one, right? So I get negative 2 times 2 for the x value, plus 2 times 3 for the y value. It's a little bit out of order. Is less than or equal to 6. Negative 4 plus 6 is less than or equal to 6. That also works, so that's why B has to be the right answer. Okay? So far, again, we're 5 out of 14 questions dealing directly with our knowledge of linear equations. Let's see if we have any down here. Those are both basic algebra questions. No, here we go. Boom, right? Let's look at these ones. Okay, look at this. Right away, here's another y equals mx plus b. So on the no calculator section, out of 20 questions, okay, 6 out of 20 questions, 6 out of 20, which is, 25%, more than 20, it's 30% of the test almost. Yeah, it's probably almost exactly 30%, right? 30% of the no calculator section deals directly with linear equations. That's why we're doing this, right? And I know that there are harder concepts that we could be covering. I know that there are things that I'm sure all of you guys would find helpful with related to harder concepts. But if 6 out of 20, if 30% of the test is only is on one concept, that's unbelievable. We should do everything in our power to memorize every single page on Star U of the applications of linear equations under SAT Math. Everything, because it's 30% of the no calculator section. Right? So here we have a linear function, right? So right when we see the word linear, even though it's a graph here, just write out y equals mx plus b. And on this equation, maybe start to fill it in. Right? We know we go up 2 and over to the left 1, so we have a slope of negative 2, y equals negative 2x, and it crosses at 0, 3, right? So plug it in. The equation of that line is y equals negative 2x plus 3. Right? Okay, from there it says the line is perpendicular, and if we remember perpendicular lines, and we're looking for the point where g is 0, so we're looking for the y-intercept, all we have to do is say, what is a perpendicular line? Well, that has an equal and opposite slope. I'm sorry, it has an opposite reciprocal slope. So that would mean that if this is -2, right, this is the original line, then the perpendicular line, right, would be y equals positive 1/2 x, because we flip it, right? -2/1 flips, and then we do negative of that, so it's negative, which is a positive. So perpendicular is y equals 1/2 x plus b, because that's what we're searching for. When you see g of 0, right, equals a number, we're saying x equals 0, so y equals what? That's what that notation means, for anybody that forgets that from Algebra 2. Okay, so we have this, and now we're given the coordinate point that everybody forgets about. That's the one thing that we said when we first wrote out y equals mx plus b, that xy can be plugged in as well. That's just a coordinate point that satisfies the line. So we have 1 and 3, so we're going to say y equals, we're going to say 3 equals, right? 3 is equal to, 3 equals 1/2 times 1, because that's our x value, plus b, right? 3 equals 1/2 plus b. So subtract 1/2, b is equal to 2.5. Okay? So if we go back and plug that in, we're looking for g of 0, well, that's just going to be where the y-intercept is. So we have y equals 1/2 x plus 2.5 is the equation of the perpendicular line. That's the perpendicular line, right? Right? And now we're looking for g of 0. We plug in 0. Y is just equal to 2.5. So what is it? What is the value of g? F of g of 0? Sorry, g of 0 is equal to 2.5. So we plug in x is 0. That eliminates that. And now we just get g of 0 equals 2.5. Does that make sense, guys? Thumbs up if that makes sense. So I wanted to show all of this to you, and we're not going to go through the calculator section today because I want to keep this video relatively short. I wanted to show all this to you because if you can be disciplined, okay, and not everybody is going to be disciplined. That's just a fact. But if you want to go to MIT, okay, I use this example all the time. If you want to go to MIT, that's the top, one of the top technical colleges, probably the top technical engineering school in the entire world. If not the top, it's in the top 5. Okay? If it's not, it's in the top 5. So the reason I bring that up is because if you're going to the top, top 5 engineering school in the world, the expectations from MIT are that you're going to go do something really, really successful with your life, right? That's what they're expecting. And so if, let's say you go work for SpaceX, or you go work for NASA, or you build the International Space Station, the amount of focus, right? The amount of focus needed for that type of job is significantly more than, doing YouTube videos on the SAT. And the reason that they're so adamant about that is if you, let's say you work on the space shuttle. If you have to put the heat shield, and now it's all computer-based, so this isn't quite true, but like in the 1960s when they were first going to space, if your requirement was to put the heat shield on the re-entry, right, the re-entry module that was going to fly back onto Earth that goes up to like 90,000 degrees as they re-enter the atmosphere, if your heat shield is 1/4 of a centimeter to the right and it's off, the whole thing just goes up in flames. So I don't bring that up to be, morbid or to be like really as a downer, right, or negative. But what I mean is that MIT, that's the person that's putting that heat shield on or doing some crazy thing that's going to affect humanity, requires such an immense amount of focus. And in that regard, everybody's always worried. I don't think the person that's working at NASA is necessarily worried about the 1/4 inch to the right. Because they've become so focused and they know what they have to do that they see every project through to its completion. And that's what I'm trying to get you guys to do in terms of simple mistakes. It is not about the hardest question in the world, right? At MIT or if you go build the space station, right, there's going to be months and months and months of time to figure out the hardest possible questions. It's can you stay focused on the easy questions, on the easy tasks, so that you don't make a monumental mistake because you're going to be dealing with things on a scale for humanity that are much bigger. And again, that sounds very dramatic. But for those students that have these big, lofty expectations for college, the expectation after college is that you go do something, crazy. You take that academic crazy mind of yours and you go do something crazy with it. So again, this applies to everybody. That every single person watching this video live today or recorded should think that every single one of you should be able to answer every linear equations question. Every single one of you has covered linear equations in school, in such depth that you should go into every single math test, every single one of you. And I said 10 earlier, but I really think it's probably closer to 12 after going through that test. I actually haven't counted it, but just kind of made a general assumption that it was around 12. Okay? Every single one of you should not take these questions for granted. It's really like 12 out of 58. So it's really like 20% of the SAT math test deals solely with one chapter. On Star U, that chapter is 9 pages long. If you memorize everything on those 9 pages, you won't miss that. You'll go into every math test with 12 out of 58 questions answered, 20% of the test done before even starting it, as long as you don't make a simple mistake. It's so much easier to not make a simple mistake, too, when you really feel comfortable with the question and you're disciplined to see it all the way through. Okay? So what I want to leave you guys with, does that all make sense? Can everybody give me a thumbs up? Okay, if that makes sense. What I want to leave you guys with is if you see any of these words, be disciplined enough, right? If you want to go to MIT, Shashank, right? If you want to go to MIT, then the expectation is that you're never going to miss a linear equations problem, right? That's not me being like, you can't miss it. It's true, right? That's what the expectation is. So you need to be disciplined enough, just like you're going to have to be disciplined enough at MIT to say, if I see one of these words, lines, linear equations, right? I'll even add a fourth, or I see a graph of a line, right? Graph of a line. And sometimes even number 4 is if I get a y equals mx plus b equation, right, in a different form, like we saw, like c is equal to 75h, I think that was the equation, plus 125. Earlier, if I am given one of those equations, the first thing I'm going to do on that problem is I'm going to write out y equals mx plus b. I don't know if that's going to help me. It might not. But if I see one of these 4 things happen on any question on the SAT math section, the first thing I'm doing is writing out y equals mx plus b. Even if you don't need to, even if you can do it in your head. Okay? I want that discipline more than anything else. Okay? More than anything else, guys, I want that discipline. If you guys get to that point, then I guarantee you can do well on this. And that goes for the writing and language section on that we talked about on Monday as well. All right? So any other questions, guys? Everybody feeling pretty comfortable with this idea of linear equations and how to approach it? Again, you guys have some resources. If you go to resources to continue to study this, Star U, right? Then it's like lessons and practice problems on the home screen. Lessons and practice on the home screen, right? Then slide over to SAT at the top. SAT at top. Then SAT math. Right, which is another tab. And then finally, at the very bottom of that next page is applications of linear equations. That's your resources, right? Those are the steps. You guys are interested? Okay. As always, guys, I hope you guys found this helpful. I don't mean to be, too forceful in how I want you to approach this, but I also know that there are a lot of you that have high expectations, which I absolutely think, after doing this for as long as I have, I absolutely think that you guys can accomplish those expectations. Okay, I absolutely think that. Yeah, guys, if you have any questions, just comment below these videos, if you don't mind. If you really want to keep it just to yourself on the questions, then that's okay. But we found that if you comment below these videos, not only is it easier for us to respond to those just through YouTube, but it's also very beneficial for other students in the future. So if you have any questions, comment below. If you're really, wanting to keep it just to yourself, that's okay. But I would say that if you could comment below, that would be best. Okay, so 800 on the math, yeah. And again, I don't want to be, I don't want you guys to feel like I'm being too forceful in some of these things in terms of this discipline. But if you have high expectations, which I absolutely think you can accomplish, we have to be disciplined, right? To get an 800, you have to be disciplined. You have to do the little things that other people aren't willing to do to go from a 750 to an 800. To do the things that I wasn't willing to do, right? If I was at a 760, 770 on math, right, or 800 on a math practice test, to be consistent every time so you don't have to keep taking this, you got to keep that in mindset. Guys, yeah, if for live, so if you subscribe, last thing, guys, if you just subscribe today, just make sure that you turn on all notifications So make sure you subscribe and then turn on all notifications, because then anytime we post anything, you'll get a notification on just from YouTube, and it'll tell you when the next live stream is. All of our videos are recorded as well, so if you miss the live stream, it's not a big deal. You can come back and rewatch the video. But please make sure that you subscribe and then turn on all notifications, because then for any future live streams that we schedule, which we're going to do 2 more this week on Friday and Saturday, you'll just get a notification from YouTube so you know when to join live. Okay, final thing, guys, I say this at the end of every video, but download Star U, create your student account, and also if you can help us spread the word about the channel, we'd really appreciate it. We'd love to continue to do more of these videos on a daily basis if we can, but it's just going to require us to continue to build our audience in order to make that happen. So if you guys haven't subscribed yet, subscribe and turn on all notifications, and try to spread the word to your friends, right? Even if it's your younger friends, because we'd love to continue to do these on a more regular basis before the next one. Yeah, watching it live makes it more interactive, exactly. I like when you guys, when you participate live, I think it's better. You're going to ask direct questions and you don't have to wait for a response. But if you do have any questions following these videos, just go ahead and post them, or for any of the videos that you're watching, just post them in the comment section, and either me or one of our other teachers, tutors will respond to those questions. All right, guys, so help us spread the word. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on all notifications if you haven't already. Otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Look out for the next live stream this coming Friday. And then we'll have another full proctored practice test virtually live on Saturday as well. So we'll explain that more on Friday. But, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Have a great night wherever you are in the world. Have a great tomorrow if you're tuning in from somewhere that's already tomorrow. Or it's Thursday, I guess, for some of you. And otherwise, I hope we see you guys on Friday for the next live stream. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Have a great night. See ya.